The December 8, 2016 meeting of the Williamsburg City Council will come to order. Ms. Walton, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Zhang?
Here.
Pons?
Here.
Mayor Freiling?
Here.
Vice Mayor Foster?
Here.
Ms. Ramsey?
Here.
First on today's agenda, we have the council minutes of the November 7 and November 10, 2016 meetings. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Move we approve the November 7th and 10th minutes. Second.
Ms. Walton?
Mr. Zhang?
Aye.
Mr. Pons?
Aye.
Mayor Freiling?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Foster?
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey?
Aye.
This brings us to matters of special privilege. We have two matters of special privilege for today, the first of which is not listed on the agenda. Normally, this is an opportunity to recognize an accomplishment or celebrate an award, and we will do that shortly. But today, we will also honor the memory of a colleague. Yesterday, city staff lost one of its own. Jackie Herman, who was a valued contributor to the Williamsburg team for 30 years, passed away. To her loving family, you are in our thoughts and prayers. Now, if we could please observe a moment of silence. We'll miss you, Jackie. That takes us to the second matter of special privilege, and that is resolution honoring Police Chief David C. Slogey. Chief, if you could join me at the podium. Dave's done a lot, so this might take a while for me to read. Resolution of commendation and appreciation. Police Chief David C. Slogey on the occasion of his retirement. Whereas, after a long and distinguished career, Dave Slogey will retire January 1, 2017, having effectively and honorably served the city of Williamsburg for over 40 years and as chief since 2010. And whereas, during Chief Slogey's tenure, the Williamsburg Police Department has received top ratings in citizen surveys and forged strong relationships with city residents, businesses, and institutions, welcomed and protected visitors to Williamsburg, including 8 United States presidents, the Queen of England, the Premier of China, and many other heads of state. And whereas Chief Slogey was instrumental in leading the process by which the Williamsburg Police Department received national accreditation through the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, Inc., or CALEA, in 1987. And under his continued leadership, the department has maintained this designation for 30 years, receiving recognition as an advanced meritorious agency and flagship status in 2015, and is one of only 640 such agencies out of 18,000 in the United States. And whereas Chief Slogey has led Williamsburg's police with absolute integrity, setting standards of excellence, and championing continuing education and leadership training for his staff. And whereas he has established exceptional partnerships with all city agencies, with partners like Colonial Williamsburg Security, and with many other federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies. And whereas Chief Slogey has been active in several professional organizations, life member of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, president of the Virginia Association of Chiefs of Police, board of directors for the Hampton Roads Criminal Justice Training Academy. And whereas Chief Slogey's dedication, professionalism, and modesty have earned him the utmost respect of citizens and colleagues. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Williamsburg, on behalf of all of the citizens of Williamsburg, does hereby express its sincere gratitude for Chief Dave Slogey's many years of leadership and service. We congratulate him upon his retirement and wish him many years of happiness. Dated December 8, 2016, and signed by myself and all the members of City Council. Congratulations.
I don't want to put my back to anybody, so forgive me.
We won't shoot.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. The success of any police department could not be accomplished without the support of the City Council, City Councils throughout the last 40 years, the 3 city managers that I've had, fellow city employees. Prime example is Jackie Herman, who we're all suffering with today. Excellent example of a city employee. And our families. Police officers' lives, their families live it with them. We go to a restaurant, we put our back to the wall, we're always watching the cash register or the door or wherever the threat is, and our children even know from a young age, Dad's got to sit in that particular spot. They live the life with us, and they don't get the recognition that they should get. We try to give it to them as much as possible, any opportunity we get. In my particular case, I'd like to publicly thank my wife, Maureen, who, if I blink my eye, we were in a sandbox back when we were 2 and 3 years old, for your support throughout the years. As with all the police officers, we couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without you. Got a lot of stories about Maureen's support over the years, but that'll come at another time. And our police officers. We have some of the finest police officers in Williamsburg. Many of them aren't here right now. We had a robbery at Shell. I don't know if you heard, but we made an arrest on that this morning. We had another robbery at Valero just a couple hours ago, and my understanding when I walked in here, there's another suspect that's in custody. It's tis the season for robberies and law enforcement. But it has been my privilege to work for the city of Williamsburg for 40 years. I loved coming here as a little boy, and the opportunity to become a police officer here and to move through the ranks is just absolutely amazing. So it's been my privilege and my honor to have worked here for the last 40 years. Thank you again. This means quite a bit, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This takes us to our public hearings, of which we have 2 today. The first is PCR 16-012, zoning text revisions on General Assembly actions, proposed ordinance 16-18.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to give this report. This is a housekeeping matter. In this 2016 General Assembly session, House Bill 367 was adopted, which requires that local zoning ordinances contain provision which allows for a non-conforming business to be able to come in and petition the City Council for either a rezoning or a special or a permit to conduct the business that they've been conducting on the property if they meet 3 conditions. One is that the business license was issued for each year of the operation of the non-conforming use, that the business is operated continuously in the same location for at least 15 years, and that the holder of the business license has paid all the local taxes related to that use. So proposed ordinance number 16-012 provides for those changes in the city code. This is mandated by the state code, and so the staff recommendation is that the City Council approve the proposed ordinance.
Any questions for Ms. Shelton? With that, I will open the public hearing. Anybody wishing to speak to this matter, please come forward and state your name and address. Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing and come back to council for comment.
No, mandatory says it all to me.
Mr. Pons?
Comfortable. Mr. Mayor, I move that City Council approve proposed ordinance number 16-18.
Seconded.
Ms. Walton?
Zhang.
Aye.
Mr. Pons.
Aye.
Mayor Freiling.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
This brings us to our second public hearing, PCR 16-014, request to rezone approximately 53.5 acres at 1018, 1020, 1030, and 1038 Capitol Landing Road from RS1 to LB3 conditional. Proposed ordinance 16-21. Ms. Murphy?
Mayor Freiling and members of the City Council, Spence Witten is proposing to rezone approximately 53.5 acres at 1018, 1020, 1030, and 1038 Capitol Landing Road from RS1 Single Family Dwelling District to Limited Business Mixed Use District, LB3, in accordance with the proposed master plan and proffers that you see before you on the overhead. The applicant proposes to preserve the 3 existing houses on the property, known as the Beaches, the Duck House, the Little House, and use them as a 10-room hotel for transient rental to visitors. The Beaches will contain 4 bedrooms, with the Little House and the Duck House each containing 3 bedrooms for a total of 10 rental bedrooms. The plan includes amenities such as a pool, event barn, picnic shelters, gazebo, and kayak launch to create an attractive event destination for their hotel visitors. You have in your information the applicant's statement. The 2013 comp plan designates these 4 properties as low-density, single-family detached and mixed use, with the balance of the properties shown as sensitive environmental areas and Chesapeake Bay preservation areas. The land to the north and east, located in York County, are designated economic opportunity and medium-density residential, with land to the south and west, located in the city, designated as medium-density single-family detached residential and low-density single-family detached residential. The property to the north and east, located in York County, are zoned economic opportunity and medium-density single-family residential. The land to the south and west, located in the city, are zoned Planned Development Residential District, PDR, and Single Family Dwelling District, RS1. The statement of intent for the LB3 district reads, "This district is established to allow high-quality mixed-use development in the Northeast Triangle planning area in areas designated as mixed land use by the comprehensive plan. Suitable mixed-use developments could include the following components: residential uses, commercial and office uses, hotels and timeshares, museums, art galleries, and live workspace for artists and artisans." Because of the strategic and sensitive location of the historic Triangle planning area, a rezoning to LB3 should not be approved until an acceptable master plan has been submitted for the property. The applicant has submitted a master plan as shown with proffers that limits the uses allowed on the property. The limited uses proffered are hotel motel with 10 or less bedrooms, an event barn with kitchen and bathrooms for use of hotel motel guests and their guests, picnic shelters, a private dog kennel for use by the resident owner manager, utility sheds, swimming pools, a private kayak launch, gazebo, and pedestrian pathways, parking areas, and driveways. No other uses permitted by Section 21256.2 or 21256.3 of the City Zoning Ordinance shall be permitted on the property because this is a proffered rezoning. The master plan indicates the location of all these uses as shown on the overhead. If the rezoning from RS1 to LB3 is approved, the applicant must submit and receive site plan approval for the change in use and any new improvements noted on the master plan that currently do not exist on the 4 properties. The site plan would need to meet all site plan requirements, such as parking, new exit for the beaches, building code change in use requirements, capacity for the existing septic systems, archaeology, and landscaping. The applicant has renovated 2 of the 3 structures on the property and is in the process of renovating the 3rd structure, the beaches. All 3 structures are historic as noted in my memo. The proposed uses help to retain these properties in a way that preserves not only the structures, but the areas surrounding these structures, protects sensitive environmental areas, and provides for uses that are compatible to the surrounding area. Planning Commission held a public hearing on November the 16th. Other than the applicant's attorney, no one spoke at the hearing. Planning Commission recommended to City Council by a vote of 6-0 the rezoning of the 4 properties from RS1 Single Family Dwelling District to LB3 Limited Business Mixed Use District, conditional with proffers as detailed in the proposed ordinance 16-21. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant's attorney, Vernon Getty, is here, and also the applicant, Spence Whitten, if you have any questions of them.
Any questions for Ms. Murphy before we open the public hearing? Ms. Murphy, if I may ask a question. To some degree, the master plan is conceptual. The real development is guided by the site plan once that's approved.
The master plan gives the general location of where the uses will be, and you're correct, the site plan, the final site plan will dictate exactly the exact location.
So once that final site plan is approved, then that guides the actual development of the parcel
Well-
at that time.
Well, this guides the actual development because it's a proffered site plan, but the actual site plan will show more detail than what's shown in this plan.
So in future years, future decades, what's the role of that master plan in controlling the development of the parcel?
If it's not shown on the master plan and not approved by council as part of this proffered conditional zoning, then the applicant would have to come back through the process and change the master plan and change the zoning.
And that master plan follows the property, it does not follow the owner.
Follows the property, that's correct.
Thank you for that clarification. With that, we'll open the public hearing, invite anybody who wishes to speak on this matter to come forward.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm Vernon Getty. It's my pleasure to be here representing this Witten and Mahone family. Spence Witten is with me. I'll be very brief. I think this is a fantastic application. I think it creates a win-win-win situation, and it creates a unique accommodation and event venue, allows the families to put this property to a productive use, at the same time preserving the three houses, preserving this beautiful piece of property, and it would be a very low impact use. No issues at all with adverse impacts on neighbors, so I think it's a superb application, and really the families ought to be commended for it. With that, we'd be glad to answer any questions and would urge you to approve.
Questions for Mr. Getty?
Thank you very much.
I think Barbara.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was just wondering, what is the time frame for completion of the master plan?
Most of the items are in place. I don't know the time frame.
We're about a year out from having the beaches renovated.
Like the swimming pool, and is that already there?
That's further out.
And is there any design oversight for the renovation or does that fall under the site plan? Is it within the ARB?
Yes, it is within the Architectural Review Board, so any exterior modifications or changes would have to go to the review board for approval.
And for new construction?
And for new construction also.
Would anybody else like to speak to this matter? With that, I will close the public hearing and come back to council for comments and discussion. Mr. Foster?
I'm excited to approve this. I commend Mr. Whitten and his family for coming up with a creative use for this awesome parcel. It's a corridor we've spent a lot of time talking about, and recently put some pretty progressive things together. So I think this goes hand in hand with our efforts. We often bemoan the fact that we're losing commercial property. This is an opportunity to create some LB property in a way that takes account of the neighborhood. So happy to approve this.
Same for me. I think it keeps in line with the vision of the city for Capitol Landing Road. And as it was said, it's a venue for multiple events, and it's a win-win as far as additional opportunities for visitors and bring increased tax revenues to the city.
I agree with both those comments, and just I think, in addition, I think what the Whittens have done is been able to find a way to preserve these houses that may not have that opportunity if it wasn't for a revenue stream to come in behind it to support the renovations. And so preserving the houses also helps preserve the land, which has a lot of historical significance. And so to be able to preserve it and then be able to demonstrate that property to future generations, I think is important, and it ties right into kind of the breadth of and scope of what we are in Williamsburg. So
I have nothing more to add other than just to echo on Ms. Ramsey's point, where you had a group of citizens come together to draft a Northeast Triangle study, and I think one of the planning commissioners earlier mentioned that it falls in line with that study, so I appreciate that coming to play. And other than that, just happy to approve this SUP. So.
And I'm happy to agree with all my colleagues. This is the plan that's presented before us today is so much better than the full-out residential development that's allowed under the current zoning. It preserves the historic buildings, as Mr. Getty and everyone has noted here. It adds a relatively low-intensity commercial element to a corridor that's in need of a little bit of livening up, but it still complements the surrounding area. This is a unique product for our community. I can't think of another place in the area that is similar to this, where you have the event space and older buildings serving as hotels all in one contained area that, and I would imagine with time, gives flexibility to use the event space in different ways, which is something the community can certainly use more of. And it adds to what we're already trying to accomplish in the tourism zone and the culinary arts district, which are just adjacent to it. So from my perspective, I do agree with Mr. Getty. This is a win-win-win proposition, and I congratulate the family on coming together and coming up with something this creative and something that we're proud to have in Williamsburg.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve proposed ordinance 16-21.
Second.
Ms. Walton?
Mr. Zhang?
Aye.
Mr. Pons?
Aye.
Mayor Fryling?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Foster?
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey?
Aye.
This takes us to our monthly financial statements. Anything to point out, sir?
I'll be brief. We're about 42% of the way through the fiscal year at this point, and in general, revenues and expenses are tracking along where they should be at this point. Staff continues to monitor the more prominent revenues, and they're tracking within 1% or 2% of last year, which was a good year. That's positive, and we'll continue monitoring that closely. Expenses overall are coming in within 1% or 2% underneath where they should be tracking this time of year. So nothing exciting to report this month, which is a good thing with finances.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Any questions? Takes us to monthly departmental operating reports. Anything you'd like to highlight?
Staff and I are available if you have any questions.
Jumped out at me.
Okay, this takes us to city manager reports, of which we have one, extending permitted length of short-term special event permit approval, proposed ordinance 16-22. I would like to note that this is a citywide ordinance that would impact more than 3 businesses, so there's no reason why I couldn't participate in this. But since this request was prompted by an application by my employer, the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation, I will turn this over to Vice Mayor Foster.
Mr. Collins.
Thank you. Very briefly, Chapter 9, Article 2 of City Code permits the city manager to issue short-term special event permits for use of public property and right-of-way. Currently, that's worded in a way that limits the city manager's authority to any activity 12 days or less in a calendar month. This year, December has 5 weekends. So if there was a special event that was happening on weekends in this month, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that would be 15 days. So the same impact of use in a month like this for a special event, that with the same policy goals and directions given by council, I wouldn't have the authority to approve. The requester would have to come before council in a long-term special event permit and go through an additional legislative process in front of council to have that approval. This changes the 12 to a 15 to allow for 5 weekend months. That's the extent of the text amendment. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Just real quick, the legislative process, for that to occur, can you describe what that means and how long that would take?
The special event permit currently, there's an application online. They submit it to the city manager's office. The city manager's office distributes it to impacted departments. We get response back. We issue the permit.
In the case where we had 5 weekends, describe that process where the applicant.
Currently, the property owner or the business would have to make an application to the city manager's office. That would have to be advertised. There would have to be a public hearing held, and so it's a much shorter process for the city manager to approve them.
Any further questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Just let me get back here.
1622.
I move that City Council approve ordinance 1622.
Seconded.
Bolden.
Zhang,
Aye.
Mr. Pons.
Aye.
Mayor Fryling,
Abstain.
Vice Mayor Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
I'm taking my gavel back. This takes us to city attorney reports.
Nothing today.
This takes us to unfinished business. Takes us to new business. Mr. Foster.
Have some appointments to boards and commissions. Move that effective January 1st, 2017, City Council reappoint Joe Hertzler and Mark Kostrove to the Architectural Review Board for 4-year terms to expire December 31, 2020, and Ray Warner and John Elwance to the Board of Zoning Appeals for 5-year terms to expire December 31st, 2021, and Nancy Carter to the Historic Triangle Bicycle Advisory Committee for a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2019.
Second.
Ms. Walton.
Mr. Zhang,
Aye.
Mr. Pons.
Aye.
Mayor Fryling,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
This brings us to open forum. If there is any matter that anyone would like to address with council, please come forward now and state your name and address. And we would appreciate it if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes. Seeing none, I believe we have a matter for closed session.
That we do. I move to go into closed session pursuant to Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia for the purpose of discussing one property matter per subparagraph 3 regarding acquisition of property for economic development of which discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining or negotiation strategy of a public body, and one legal matter per subparagraph 7 for the purpose of consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members, consultants, attorneys pertaining to actual or probable litigation concerning Board of Zoning Appeals.
Second.
Ms. Walton.
Mr. Zhang,
Aye.
Pons.
Aye.
Mayor Fryling,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Foster.
Aye.
Ms. Ramsey.
Aye.
We will now take a 5-minute recess and then go into closed session.